Richardson, Executive Director of the International Human Trafficking Institute.
Greetings to everyone who's joining us today. You just saw a presentation from the IHTI Coalition to End Human Trafficking, a movement with a singular purpose to human traffic-proof Georgia so that not even one child will become a victim of sexual or labor exploitation. We have a two-pronged formula to address the systemic conditions of poverty, frail families, and failing schools, which creates the risk of child exploitation. And two, interrupt the business model of human trafficking driven by those who are creating the market demand for the legal sale and purchase of human beings or products made with enslaved labor. Since our inception in 2018, our coalition has grown to more than 200 stakeholders representing private, public, educational, multi-faith, civic, advocacy, nonprofit, and philanthropic partners. Their unique and collective contributions have accelerated our access to training persons within their spheres of influence through educational programming about labor and sexual exploitation in our society and how it intersects with race, gender, and class. We also advance anti-human trafficking stipulations in their human resources and vendor contract policies. As of 2020, we have trained more than 27,000 people toward our 50,000 person goal by 2021. We've increased our coalition partners by 20%. We've launched programming and conversations with adult, teenage, and college-age men on the role that men play in their demand for all forms of sexual exploitation. A robust virtual training platform since COVID-19 began providing access and engagement with viewers throughout the United States, Canada, the Caribbean, Europe, South America, Africa, and New Zealand. Our coalition has also supported community-wide advocacy campaigns such as the Truth in Trafficking campaign with a strong message that exploiting children is a heinous and irreparable act. The 23 billboards were shown throughout the metro Atlanta and in MARTA stations, generating more than 9 million views and reported in over 60 media markets across the United States. There are more people of all ages ensnared by labor trafficking than sex trafficking. There are millions throughout the world, in the United States, and hundreds of thousands right here in our metro Atlanta communities. They are hidden in plain sight as domestic workers performing personal services on landscaping crews and construction sites, as well as in manufacturing plants. Even teens are recruited as traveling sales crews by false claims of earning unrealistic amount of money in commissions or scholarships. As consumers, we unknowingly contribute to the complex web of exploitation. However, we can do something about it by becoming conscious of our consumer habits and committing not to purchase products or services by enslaved persons. This is the critical next step. There is a simple tool, the Slavery Footprint, that is available free online, and we encourage you to download it and take it with your family and friends. I must now pause and acknowledge that all humanity is living through an unprecedented global public health and economic crisis of epic proportions. We now clearly see how people who are living in impoverished conditions without economic opportunity, access to health care, a lack of affordable housing, or nutritious food access are disproportionately negatively impacted. We are increasingly seeing communities where cars line up by the miles for food boxes and evictions notices are served on a daily basis. It is the children in these communities who are the most vulnerable to be recruited, bought, and sold for sex and labor exploitation. Hotlines for child protection organizations have experienced a flood of calls from people, even the children themselves, seeking help. During the pandemic, there has been an exponential increase of reports to the hotline of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, of children being approached by online predators. The Polaris National Human Trafficking Hotline reported a 40% increase in calls. The majority of the calls were people looking for safe shelter. The National Abuse Hotline number had a 22% increase in monthly calls from people younger than 18 asking for help. Later in our program, we will hear from Callahan Walsh on how the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children is responding to this crisis. We now know that as more children are spending more time online with their devices, they're at increased risk of being approached by the predator, while older teens and adults are being targeted by labor trafficking operations. This movement is also facing yet another threat to overcome. In my 26 years of advocacy to end the exploitation of children, I have seen consistent bipartisan support toward our singular goal. What started as a fundraising campaign for a legitimate anti-trafficking organization is now being diverted by a group of people who are spreading rumors and false human trafficking claims. In June 2020, Polaris reported their National Human Trafficking Hotline has received hundreds of reports referencing social media posts of how national retailers and famous people are part of a complex child sex trafficking scheme. We acknowledge that these reports come from concerned citizens who learn of something unspeakable and feel compelled to act. However, when emergency hotlines are clogged with answering calls about these false claims, callers with legitimate reports and desperate victims needing services are blocked. This is of grave concern. Please know that there are very few reports of strangers abducting children to force them into exploitation. It is vulnerable children who are targeted for recruitment and sold to predators. 8 out of 10 times, a family member or that child know the person who recruits them. In response, Polaris issued this statement. We strongly encourage everyone to learn more about what human trafficking really looks like in most situations and about how you can help fight human trafficking in your own community. This is the intersection with the work of the Coalition to End Human Trafficking. Together in the coming year, we will train persons to learn something, do something, see something to end human trafficking, identify and work on dismantling systemic conditions in our communities that fosters frail families and vulnerable children. Commit to examining our own consumer habits to ensure that we are not purchasing items made with enslaved labor. And we will always speak out among our networks and speak up to our elected officials to ensure that laws already on the books to arrest and prosecute predators is not an option, but a mandate. Thank you for your engagement. I'm reminded of the words of the Honorable John Lewis, if not you, who? If not now, when? We cannot wait. The time is indeed now. Thank you.